So Sidney Crosby gets injured last night in Pittsburgh's game against the Rangers. So within 3 minutes of him leaving, take a look at your screen. The Penguins were up 2-0, right? Then the Rangers put the biscuit in the basket 3 times. Again, within 3 minutes of Sidney Crosby leaving. New York had no answer for the Crosby line until they injured Crosby. NHL.com's Fantasy on Ice host Pete Jensen is here. RotoWire's Paul Bruno is here. We're going to look at tonight's slate, but real quick, I mean, what chance are you giving Pittsburgh in this series, Paul, without Sidney Crosby?
I think very small chance. That's a key blow. This guy's been their team leader forever, but he's really elevated his game once again in the playoffs. We've seen it. We've all seen it. And we saw how quickly they were a different team without him. Their emotional leader, it's a blow to them. Maybe they reset and use it as motivation if he's not able to continue. But off what I saw, I didn't like it. And I'm sure AJ would say the same thing.
Yeah, how nervous are you right now if you are Pittsburgh, Pete?
I don't think they're that nervous, honestly, because they've dealt with major injuries. Remember the beginning of the year when they were missing Crosby and Malkin and Rust, I think, at the same time. It was like, it's crazy how this team is so resilient through the years. It doesn't matter. Remember the one playoff run, Letang was out for the entire playoffs and they had like a shell of a defense and they still won the cup. So in terms of winning one of the final 2 games, Pittsburgh's definitely capable of it. The problem is, you know, they're already masking the fact that they're on their 3rd string goalie. And now without Sidney Crosby, that's a lot to stomach. So, yeah, again, I think Pittsburgh still could advance. Their best player, Crosby, has been their best player in the series. The Rangers' best player, Shesterkin, has not. He's been far from their best player. He needs to be their best player in Game 6. He needs to do what his fellow countryman Ilya Sorokin did last year in Game 5, totally steal the game in Game 6 and give the Rangers back some confidence heading back home for Game 7.
I mean, Penguins fans were so ticked off on Twitter last night. They're talking about the only way Rangers can win games is by injuring players. Like Raquel was first, and then Crosby, and no calls on either one. Those fans were going back and forth all night on the socials. What about this evening? Who's your favorite winger or center tonight in DFS, Pete?
I'm going to go with the bounce-back appeal of the Minnesota Wild, and I'm going to go with Ryan Hartman. This guy scored 34 goals, career high in the regular season, and is playing with Kirill Kaprizov, who's leading, or he's actually tied for the NHL lead this postseason with 7 goals. So, yeah, I like Hartman's chances of breaking through here in a must-win spot for the Wild. And this game, of all the series that have been topsy-turvy, right? Like one team blows out the other one on that team's home ice, and then the next game, the opposite happens. The other team gets blown out on their home ice. So, yeah, again, I think that Ryan Hartman and the Minnesota Wild, Kirill Kaprizov, like he played in Game 5, is not going to go down quietly, even if the Wild lose this game. So I like Hartman, one of the breakout players of the entire season, to finally score his first goal of the playoffs.
Paul, 4 Game 6s tonight. The Kings, your Maple Leafs, the Hurricanes, St. Louis, they can all end series tonight. Are you looking for a guy on one of these teams looking to close it out?
I'm looking at 2 guys, and I'm not going to look at the Leafs Lightning game. I don't like leave Pete to touch that one, but I look at Carolina and Boston. Sebastian Aho has feasted on the Bruins all season long. That goes back to 3 blowouts in the regular season and a couple more in the playoffs. Yet somehow he's still priced at only $6,100, Emerson. I don't get that. The Bruins are going to kiss this season goodbye tonight, I think. Low price tag for a C1 is something I can't overlook, and I'm on Aho tonight. And in another game, I look at St. Louis. I've been one of the guys that called this team to be a scary club 2 months ago, and they've been on a tear ever since. David Perron's been central to that. He's establishing a great rep as a playoff scorer over the last few years, dating back to when they won the Cup, in fact. And once again, he stepped up his pace this postseason with a current streak of 6 goals and 9 points on 37 shots in his last 10 games played, dating back to the late regular season. He'll line up as a right wing 2 next to Ryan O'Reilly, the team's heart and soul captain, and cost only $5,500 tonight. I think that's a bargain.
All right, Paul, which defenseman is a must roster here? Edmund, head and shoulders above the rest in the salary department. He's $7,100. Next closest guy is $5,500.
Yeah, I think Hedman's going to be in tough tonight against the Leafs. They've got a chance to pull the plug, so I'll leave that again. I look at Tony DeAngelo. A couple of days you asked me about the same teams in this game, and I said DeAngelo would have a big night. He had 3 points. In fact, he's had 8 points in 5 games in this series so far. The Bruins have not had an answer for him, and they really ticked him off with Brad Marchand's antics against him. I think that's been a real motivator for a guy who plays with a lot of emotion. He cost $5,500. It's a little more than I usually pay for a top D man, but I think he's going to be a difference maker tonight, and I'm going to put him in my lineup for sure. I think the St. Louis Blues, I said, I'd take advantage of home ice to eliminate Minnesota tonight, and central to their success of late is one Justin Falk, who averages almost 3 shots on goal per game, and he's got a howitzer of a shot. And he also has 3 goals and 9 points in this 10-game stretch, as well as 9 blocks. So he's doing that at both ends, and that accounts for a 12.0 DK points per game over his last 10 starts. He costs only $4,900 this evening.
Hey, Pete, I'm seeing Evan Bouchard there. $5,000 on DK here. Good cash play the other night, and that should improve, right? With Nurse suspended for Game 6?
That's a great storyline for sure. Bouchard was one of the top even strength point producers among defensemen in the regular season, top 15. And he'll take on an elevated role with the Kings, or with the Oilers facing elimination against the Kings. But I'm a little worried about Edmonton. I'm going to go with a safer play in Jacob Slavin. He's got 11 points in his past 13 playoff games. This is a guy that totally elevates his game come postseason time. In the regular season, he's a workhorse, but he's kind of overshadowed by a couple other guys. This year it's been DeAngelo. Past years it's been Dougie Hamilton. But yes, Slavin always brings his best in the playoffs. He's got great splits in his career come postseason time. He's probably going to play like 25 to 30 minutes if the Hurricanes are able to win in Boston, especially if that game goes into overtime. He's going to rack up shots. He's going to rack up blocks, and he's going to continue to score to help put Carolina over the top. Remember how Boston has owned the Hurricanes in recent years. They're going to have a chance to finish them off here tonight, finally.
All right, Pete, before you take off, hook me up with a value play. Save us some money here for our lineups.
I really like Ross Colton, what he's doing on the Tampa Bay Lightning third line. He's really cheap in DraftKings. He actually leads them in goals this postseason, if you could believe it. He's got 3. He's got more than Kucherov, Stamkos, Point, all those guys. And he's tied for 3rd on the Lightning in points this postseason, despite being 8th out of their 12 forwards in average ice time. So he's like packing the punch offensively. They're going to need those depth guys to come through if they hope to extend this series to 7. Remember, the Lightning, their bounce back appeal, they've been automatic the past 2+ postseasons. They haven't lost consecutive games. That's a really good trend for tonight. And I like that Colton is bringing the depth scoring right now for the Bolts.
Paul, who are you recommending for a value play tonight?
First, to build on that last comment, and what gives me pause for optimism with the Leafs game is that Lightning have not lost 2 playoff games in a row in their last 16 tries. That's a streak that's got to end sooner or later, and why not tonight, I say. I'm looking at 2 other games. Jordan Kyrou gets right wing assignment on the top line, riding his own hot streak with 5 goals, 11 points, and 26 shots on goal in his last 10 starts. Despite these numbers and his prominent role, he still only costs $4,700. I don't get that tonight for a first-line winger on a team that's ready to eliminate the opposition. And the LA Kings are a team that we haven't showed a lot of love. We keep waiting for the Edmonton Stars to beat them, but they got trounced, the Oilers did, at home. And it was a lopsided game. I think the Kings finally pulled the grass over Edmonton's season this year. And the second line has been a key role for the Kings in this series. I plug in 2/3 of that group tonight. Center Phil Deneau is getting a lot of credit for his strong two-way play, has 7 goals and 2 helpers in his last 10 starts, costing only $4,100. And I can't overlook his right winger either, Trevor Moore, compiling 4 goals and 4 helpers over his last 10 games played. You can throw in 14 blocks as well, and I still can't figure out why he's only $4,200 tonight.